Looks like
Sparkling water.
your Sprite commercial right there.
It's lime salt flavored.
They make lime salt flavored water.
Lime salt flavored sparkling water. It's actually really good. It's kind of like margarita with no alcohol and no sugar.
Margarita for hippies. Yeah, we actually just juiced this morning.
Yum.
So let me, I guess, introduce you for the people who don't know you.
By the way, is this a good sound quality? Because I do have a bigger microphone. It's just a little bit dorky looking.
Well, if it'll make you look dorkier, I say go for it.
I mean, how's the sound quality?
That makes you look like more like 1980s like helicopter pilot in a movie.
I know. So how does it sound okay?
Yeah.
It sounds okay?
Yeah, I'm actually using a shitty internal microphone, so.
I think we're using the same. Well,
yeah.
You have, I think yours came with the iPod, didn't it, or the iPhone. You have like the generic Apple.
That is where you're actually incorrect, because I'm one of the few last people staying on the sinking ship who has used Windows my whole life, and I've actually been 10 years without phone. People don't believe.
Oh,
people don't believe that I
never used a Mac.
Yeah, I used one the other day, and I even when you minimize shit, I can't figure out where it goes. I'm totally.
Me too. Same. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Macs drive me crazy. Anything. Yeah. I switched from an iPhone to an Android 5 years ago. Never been back. Can't stand Mac. And Mac users don't know either. Like they'll save something and I'll say, okay, well, where did it save? I don't know. We have to go find it. How do you not know? I feel like everyone's cool with the Mac. Just pretend like it's better.
I saw an awesome picture, and it was a college campus, and it had 100 students, at least 80 of them had some kind of Mac product on them. And the slogan, obviously, they used for a long time was "Think differently," and then it said ... like everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I got to hand it to them. They're one efficient machine. And actually, I never really liked Apple until I found out very recently that it's a really amazing story. When Steve Jobs sold the iPhone, it was a failing company. I guess Apple was going to go out of business, and he decided to sell this phone, and it wasn't built. And so there was a lot of sleight of hand going on in the demonstration. So at one point he goes, look, it plays music, and he had to do a quick swap of one, and then they played music on the overhead to make it look like the phone was playing it. And there was all kinds of the software didn't work, so when he needed to change screens on the phone, he would walk behind a podium and switch it out and say, here's how you switch it. So it was all this kind of stuff, but he basically did what a really great entrepreneur does, which is he sells it, and then if people want to buy it, then he went and actually built it.
Then he figures out you write the sales page before you create the whatever.
Exactly. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's totally different. That's
marketing. He's definitely not bad at marketing. That's for sure. That's their strong point.
So can I pick your brain on that?
Yeah.
Because you are the Hannah G Wiley, and the G stands for gangster. Because
stands for gangster.
I actually see a lot of people do this online, which is kind of how we connected, which is they want to live this digital nomad lifestyle. And they want to be able to work from a laptop and see the world and go to exciting places and do all this fun stuff. But so many people advertise that lifestyle. It's really cool when you meet somebody actually living that lifestyle. So at the same time, you were running an agency in my niche, going after my people.
Going after your people. I'm going to pick up all the people that you leave behind you.
So let's talk about, firstly, I'd love to hear kind of what your ideas or principles or beliefs or kind of whole thought process on is. How do you make your business, firstly, serve your life rather than a lot of people who have a business that runs their life? Okay,
well, so I think it starts with having a terrible business at first. So you can start it perfectly from the beginning. I commend you. But I think the first step is to set it up in a way that sucks and makes you hate your life. So that's the first step.
Yeah.
And you start realizing slowly but surely all the things that are making it suck. And then you stop, and then you have to kind of do some thinking. And that's when you start making changes. So I was doing everything for everybody, websites. I was, getting clients at local networking events, and it just, it wasn't fun. So I kind of just stopped and started thinking, well, how can I make this just not so hard? Like I was, I run a digital marketing agency, but at the beginning I was just pretty much doing everything for anybody, low baller clients, just trying to get everything that I could. And so it takes a while of just kind of doing it the wrong way to really make you realize, well, okay, I want something different. And at that point, if you're smart, then you start analyzing. Whereas I think a lot of people, they don't, and I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people just push through that. They just think that it's just the way that it is. And so I started thinking there has to be a better way. And so I'm still in the process of doing this. But the first thing I realized was, well, okay, to make it be more streamlined, I want to be able to kind of duplicate the efforts that I've already made. So if I make an effort one time, I don't want to have to basically, I don't want to start from scratch every single time I have a new client. Well, how do you do that? Well, you choose one niche. At least if you choose one niche, then what's worked with one client can work with the next client, and you're not reinventing the wheel every single time.
Yes.
And so then there's just a series of things that you start realizing will lead to you working less and the client getting a better result. So it honestly takes a lot. You going through the process of kind of not liking where you are and then slowly figuring it out, or learning from somebody who's already teaching you that to begin with. So I am always looking for ways to make the process less work intensive for me and more effective for the client. But that does require some thinking. Like that does require you analyzing, being strategic. So if you just want to blindly go ahead, hustle and not think about it, then you probably will end up with a business that is not that, and then you'll have to stop and reevaluate. And I think that's what a lot of people do. Although I think a lot of people just keep on pushing ahead, and then they end up just burning out.
Yeah,
so I guess my philosophy is it's possible, but you have to think about it and or learn from somebody who's a little bit more strategic in their thinking.
Yeah, I definitely can say personally it's taken about 11,000 iterations, and it's still evolving as you go. If you're looking to do it first time, you probably won't. And
exactly. I would say embrace the suckiness, the fact that it will suck at some point.
Yes, absolutely. And I see people with all the time broken business models, like you said, that push through it. And by the way, I'm glad you said niche rather than niche. That shows me you're a real world traveler, not a true American.
I don't say niche.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous.
So on that subject, okay, so you've grown and evolved, and like you, by the way, I had a lot of those same shitty things. My qualifications were also anybody with a credit card or a wallet. And of course, you don't realize all the backlog of work you create for yourself in doing that, all the headaches and difficulties. For example, a really cheap client, as you mentioned, also comes with hold my hand, talk to me, reassure me 17 times. Why is this not working? It's been 10 minutes. Why am I not a billionaire? And all those conversations. And if you add all that up, it's not actually really, the service you thought you were providing. A whole lot of counseling and stuff in there as well. So I'm curious to know, you've obviously had some big iterations along the way. You're on that super cool globe-trotting level where you've seen a lot of places and you've had some sucky Wi-Fi. What are some of the big iterations that you've been able to create for yourself that allowed you to see the world?
Okay. All right, so the first one was I decided to niche down from helping any sort of small businesses. I decided to niche down to a few different, niche markets, verticals, as we call them in the marketing world.
You love
and
that
the first
word
one
now, huh?
was lawyers, exactly. So I again, thinking about it, I thought, who is already paying a lot of money for online marketing, and their online marketing sucks a lot, or their marketing in general, so they're used to paying for marketing. I don't have to convince them for marketing. And one client is worth a lot of money for them. And I came up with lawyers. And so, I decided to kind of niche down to one vertical. So I thought, well, if I specify in lawyers, then I can pretty much duplicate campaigns that are working. And I went beyond that and I said, okay, well, lawyers, there's lots of different things you can do for lawyers. You can do websites, you can do SEO, blah, 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 blah. Well, what has the fastest return on investment is the easiest to, as quickly as possible, figure out if it's working, and you don't have to deal with like a long time frame of is it working, is it not working. And I decided, well, that's AdWords. So AdWords for lawyers. I thought, okay, rather than do everything for everybody, I'm going to do AdWords for lawyers. And so then I decided, I kind of went about making myself an expert in AdWords for lawyers. Of course, you have to know what campaigns are working. So I'm already going off of like what I know works. So there's a little trial period where you're testing out what works, and you do actually have to know something. But it's not as, like, it doesn't have to take you years to figure this out.
Right.
And if you do know something about marketing, which I'm assuming a lot of people do, you'll see how bad a lot of people's marketing is online, lawyers, or whatever vertical niche you decide to go into. So then the first one was like niching down both on the vertical and the service. And then the second one was, okay, well, how can I start getting clients, not just locally, but online? And there's a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways that you can get clients remotely where you don't have to be there. You can do cold emailing, you can do cold calling. And I kind of tried to fool myself for a while that I like doing those things, or I can power through. But the truth of the matter is I hate cold calling and I hate cold emailing. So after doing some more research and thinking about it, LinkedIn became the number one way for me to find these types of clients. Because if you're going after a vertical, which I recommend that you do no matter what you're doing, LinkedIn is the place to find that vertical, because they're categorized by their profession. So from doing everything for everybody in a local market, I started doing a specific service for a specific type of business. And I found this amazing bank of, it's like repository of the exact type of client that I was looking for. And then I kind of have this, I started testing out, I started using my mind, like my own thinking process. Like how would I want somebody to approach me? What would I need for somebody to kind of entice me online? And I kind of worked out this strategic process that worked really well to start getting clients on LinkedIn, specifically lawyers. So yeah, and this all took like, maybe 6 months or so. But yeah, this is like, again, it requires really thinking about it, thinking what you do want, thinking what you don't want. Now, of course, as you and I were talking, now there's this whole other set of issues that come along with working for lawyers. It's like no matter what phase you go to next, you realize you have to kind of reevaluate. Well, is this really what I want? Is this, because lawyers have their whole like set of issues. Like, they're very smart, they're very demanding, it's
yeah.
Each kind of has it, so you kind of just have to figure out what works for you, and it's a constant process of iteration.
I don't know what your experience was like, but pretty snarky lawyers can be. Like instead of like, I would have lawyers on my email list, and instead of just hitting unsubscribe, they would write me a nasty email before they click unsubscribe. Like, a standard policy to write something like, how many fucking times do I have to click the unsubscribe button? And my standard answer was one extra time for every time you're an asshole to a stranger.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, because they are smart. That's for sure. They're smart, and they got an attitude. Yeah. And they're also good at like negotiating. So a lot of times they'll want to negotiate. So of course, you can't just categorize everyone. But no matter what vertical whoever is watching you decide to go into, you will start noticing, okay, so these are the characters. But there's always pros and cons. Basically, there is no 100% perfect anything, but you just kind of have to understand and like just be honest with yourself. Can I handle these pros versus these cons, and how can I make this as painless for me as possible and as profitable for the client as possible? Like, what is the best possible outcome? There's always a way to make it better.
Yeah, so that's a really good question that you're making me think of next. Okay, so this is pretty cool, because this is where I think it gets fun, right? And I love your transparency that that's not going to happen for somebody day one. Like, people think that they're just going to be running this empire 5 minutes later, and I promise you, you're not. Especially not if you're a beginner. But you mentioned previously that one of the things you focus on, obviously, is how can you get these people this outcome quickly. But you're also, one of the things you mentioned to me before we kind of had this interview, is that you like to outsource as much of that as humanly possible so you're not the one doing it. Because I imagine a lot of people were sitting there thinking they would have to manage an AdWords account, be constantly hounding people on LinkedIn, and that's anything but what you're doing, because right now you're on a beach in Spain.
Yeah.
Or,
Okay,
sorry, I'm on a beach in Spain and you're in a beach in Mexico.
I'm in Playa del Carmen. Yes. And it's actually, I'm looking at the window, it's raining right now, which I love because it's so damn hot here. But so it's like actually gray and raining, but this, pretend like this is what I'm just like living right here.
Yeah.
Right there all the time. But so first of all, I want to say, while it did take me like a year to kind of play around, it doesn't have to take that long. So while you do have to go through some growing pains, it doesn't have to be as long and painful as like what I went through, maybe what you went through. So it doesn't have to be long and hard.
Yeah.
There will be adjustment points, but if you like learn from the mistakes of other people, you can kind of start at a higher place where you won't have to deal with as many of those issues. So I don't want to say like it definitely has to, like everyone has to slog through and suffer. Learn from people who've already suffered. Learn from like the deep thinking they've done. Learn from the mistakes that, like already learn from this. Don't just start offering it to everybody. Focus on a niche. Focus on a vertical. Another thing is to focus on the outcome. Don't be like, I hear so many people say all the time, what do you do? I do AdWords. Yeah, that's terrible. That's who cares? Nobody cares. Then they say, okay, well, they try to specify a little bit more. Okay, well, I do AdWords for lawyers. Again, that also sucks. Something like I help lawyers get more personal injury clients with AdWords. Wow, now all of a sudden this is interesting. Now you're talking about the outcome that you offer. So let's say you're a graphic designer. You can say, I help coaches redesign their homepage to get 50% more opt-ins or something like the more you niche down, the more you make it appealing to the person who's listening. Like just take what I just said right there and apply it to whatever you're doing, and that will already, you're starting at a higher basis than where I was. So learn from the mistakes of others. Doesn't have to take forever, but you will have these moments of like discomfort, and you just have to think about them, and you don't have to necessarily,
Oh, nice jingle.
Not my alarm. That's my alarm. So that said, now the other thing was, so you don't necessarily have to do all the work yourself either. You kind of can, as long as you understand how whatever you're doing works, you can then have other people do the actual fulfillment work. And that's what I did. And there are places online, there are companies, white label agencies, outsourcers, freelancers like yourself that you can then go to. And
Fiverr if you're a gangster.
Fiverr, Upwork, Facebook groups even. Yeah. So it's completely possible to set up whatever you're doing so that you're not doing all the work yourself. Now this setup process, again, it won't be overnight. It can be faster if you're learning from somebody else who's done it, but it's not like you're just going to be like, okay, I'm making $20,000 a month because I found a cool guy on Fiverr, and you're going to have to just go through a little bit of a phase, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it was for me, or maybe it was for me.
So let's talk about the shit, actually. What would you say some of the biggest mistakes you've made that you've learned from that you would recommend somebody avoid dearly?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was all, most of it was it's still, but at the beginning, I just I dove into it looking for any type of clients. And what I would do now is I would think, okay, what to me seems like a good vertical to get into? How can I get one client in that vertical?
So can you tell me, can I reel you in for a second just on that one? Yeah. So I guess what I kind of meant by that is, like what happened because you chose the wrong kind of clients that you kind of really learned from that led you to this understanding of being so strategic about it?
Right. So at the beginning, I was going to like these local, what are they called? What's that? Local like chamber of commerce.
Yeah.
Meeting local businesses, and I was offering free consultation on your website. And so I just found myself talking on the phone to like, I think the first one was like a balloon party shop, like they made balloons for parties.
Yeah.
And she had paid like $300 to her nephew for the website, and I mean, there's like, she didn't have any money to pay me for anything. So here I was kind of giving away my marketing knowledge to people who couldn't even grasp it. Like even if she had taken and run with everything I told her, even if she could, But it's to say, she didn't even have like the resources to do it herself, let alone pay somebody else. So it was just like going in one ear out the other. I was going to a lot of networking events. I was meeting a lot of people. Now, granted, actually that isn't necessarily a bad thing. What you get with networking events isn't necessarily clients. I didn't get any clients. Well, that's not true. I got 2 low-paying clients. But you can meet people who then can introduce you to other people. So networking events, if that's your style, if you're a very gregarious, extroverted person, and that's just, you enjoy doing those things, and those can actually work really well to like make connections in a local community. But I was spending a lot of time at networking events. I was kind of giving away free consultations just to anybody and everybody, just people who were not my ideal client. So what I should have done was, okay, this is a balloon shop. Okay. Does this person have any money for marketing? Are you going to have to convince them that marketing is even a good idea? Like, are they happy with the brother's cousin's son's mother's website that, you know, was made for them? Do they have a need? Do they have a marketing budget? So just one of the first things is your market selection, is your customer, the type of customer. Because if you choose the wrong type of customer, you will spend a lot of time and a lot of work with way fewer results. I mean, you can spend the exact same amount of time helping somebody who has the money for a marketing budget as you can somebody who doesn't have money for a marketing budget. Somebody who understands that they need marketing as somebody who they don't understand they need marketing, and you have to convince them. So biggest mistake at the beginning was just spending a lot of time on the wrong types of clients, people who weren't going to be good clients. And I think a lot of people do that. I see a lot of people in Facebook groups saying, gosh, I have this client, you know, he wants me to run all these ads for free, and he's not really sure. And it's as if that person was the last client on earth, but they're not. Be okay with letting prospects go if they're not a good fit. There are other prospects out there. There are better clients out there. So be okay. Like, I tried so hard, you know, the balloon lady and other people, like, be okay with it not being like them not wanting to work with you because they're not a good fit for you. Just be okay with letting them go. Go for bigger fish.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell you, having done the same mistake personally, that you know, what ends up happening, at least for me, was you get these people who don't pay, never pay on time, and you got to chase them, and then you got to like hold their hand and convince them and persuade them. And then at the end of it, it doesn't work out because often I've had people who are like, okay, I'll spend $100 on ads and see how it goes. And if that doesn't make me a bunch of money, then that's it, right? And it's like, you know, their unwillingness to kind of engage in that process. And then what ends up happening is you feel like shit because you're like, man, I got this client, I took some money from him, how am I going to charge somebody $10,000 when I can't even get somebody a result for $100 or $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is? And ironically, it's usually totally the other way around. So what do you look for today now that, what does your ideal client look like, and who are the people that are like automatic no's to you?
Okay, so my ideal client looks like somebody who I already have a campaign that I know works. It's a niche that I already know works well for the specific type of online advertising that I do. So obviously I want to get my clients good results. Facebook ads and Google ads. I prefer Google ads, AdWords, but Facebook ads is really coming up. A lot of people want Facebook ads, so this, you know, you can't just ignore it when people say they want something. And it has to be, like, for me personally, I want to do lead generation. I don't want to do online sales. So I always say no to e-commerce stores. I'm not saying that's what anybody should do. If you want to focus on e-commerce, I would just say focus on e-commerce. If you want to focus on lead generation, focus on lead generation. They're kind of different psychologies.
Yeah.
Similar, but different. Like, each one requires a specific type of focus. So just choose one of those. So it's lead generation. It's a company that is making a certain amount of money, probably over $1 million, but maybe over $2 million a year, who's already spending money on marketing, who is not, I can tell like they're not really doing marketing right, so it'd be easy for me to get them results. Another thing is you want to go after like the low-hanging fruit, which is they're already spending money on marketing and their marketing sucks. So sorry, I don't know where to look at the camera. Or, you know, I never know where to look at these things. I'm looking at the camera. But and a willingness. Actually, I like to. So with my whole LinkedIn strategy, I've kind of established myself as an AdWords specialist for lawyers. So I like to go. A lot of times, I like to reach out to them, but then have them come to me and ask me and show interest in me. So I look for clients or prospects who are actually interested. Like, I don't have to browbeat them. I don't like to browbeat anybody. I don't like to try to force anybody to or kind of twist anybody's arm. So if you have compelling case studies, if you have compelling like white papers or a report or a checklist that shows people the possibilities of whatever you're doing, be it AdWords, Facebook ads, online design, IT, whatever, if you show them, like give them something that can help them visualize their own success, a lot of times they will come to you. So yeah, I look for clients who have a specific amount of revenue, a specific amount of employees. By the way, you can do this on LinkedIn. Already spending money on marketing and or are willing to spend money on marketing. They know. So I don't have to convince them that marketing is important. And it looks like I can get them good results.
Yeah, I mean, in short, I think there's a lot of power to finding somebody who needs what you do and you can help them almost immediately and you already have the stuff ready to go before the conversation even begins, because it just saves you a lot of time in delivery and them a lot of benefit in getting help. But I mean, like you said, it takes so much courage to be able to say no to people. So I think that's all like the recording time. I'd like to talk to you for a couple minutes after if you're cool with that.
Okay. I just want to say one thing, because this is a question that I see a lot online, and I feel like it's a question a lot of people might have. They're just beginning. It's like, okay, I'm just starting. What if I don't have results? What if I don't have? And so there's a little trick that you can use, and I use this at the beginning as well. It's not that, so testimonials or a portfolio, these are only ways so that a client can envision their own success through you. If you don't have that, there are other ways that you can let the client step into the vision of them succeeding with what you have. And that is to write like a case study about somebody who maybe isn't your client. You never claim that they are your client, but you show them the possibility, like, well, this dentist tripled their revenue using Facebook ads, and this is exactly what they did. Now, you never say the dentist was your client, but at least you show them that you understand the process and you let them kind of envision their success. So think of like, it's storytelling. So you have to paint the picture for them whether or not this is your client or not. And you don't necessarily need to have all of these amazing results yourself to get started. You just have to show that you understand how it works.
Hell yeah. In fact, I'll give them another little bonus tip, because that was awesome what you just did, by the way, and you got my creative juices flowing. One of the things that I did in the beginning was I got really good at getting on the phone calls with people who didn't buy from me. That was like one of my beginning steps, was not really knowing how to sell. But the one thing I did do is I got testimonials from the people who never bought from me, just to say that the call was really worthwhile, so that when people were thinking about, should I talk to this guy or not, I would send them like 12 testimonials. Here's people who said it's an awesome call talking to me.
That is a good idea. That's a really good idea.
So this idea that you can't do it because you don't have anything going or whatever is really amazing. And it's amazing how much you can leverage other people's credibility, like I did as well.
Exactly.
I interviewed, I don't know if you know the name John Morgan, but he runs the top personal injury firm in the U.S. They got like, I don't know, like 30 locations. And a 10-minute interview with him, which, by the way, he didn't ask, what's your podcast or how many subscribers. I had exactly 0 and I was nobody, but he was like, he understands that it helps his publicity. Even if 2 people ever watch it, that's 2 more people than he had before. So he immediately...
Was that on YouTube, or where did you post that?
Yeah, I did post it on YouTube. But yeah, it brought me a lot of credibility then to be able to say, hey, if you want to know the top 3 ways of getting clients, here's what I learned from the top lawyer in the entire country about how he's doing it. People tend to listen to those kind of things. So yeah, I mean, like you said, if it's creatively telling a story, then you don't have to get caught up in the idea that I don't know anybody, I haven't helped anybody, especially if you know you can do it. Yeah, exactly. So go ahead.
It's the same, exactly. You do have to understand the strategy yourself. So you can't just completely pull bullshit BS out of it. I mean, you have to understand, and have confidence in, and obviously maybe even give a discount at the beginning to get your very first client. But if you understand the strategy and you yourself know that it can work, then that's what they're looking for. And I would like to say, can I just say that if people are interested, I do have a checklist on how I...
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, actually.
Okay.
I was going to say, shameless plug. Let's hear it. People who want to find out more about you. How do they do
so
it?
I will be putting together a course, maybe a mastermind for people who want to kind of take themselves, start an agency, and then not have to do all the work themselves, find outsourcers, find high-paying clients on LinkedIn. The very kind of outline of how I did it, step-by-step checklist, is at laptopagency.com. And it's pretty much what I did to get started, and now I run my agency. I'm in Playa del Carmen right now, pretty much location independently, and I don't have to do all the work myself. So laptopagency.com is the 7-step checklist, basically kind of to prepare yourself, like I said, learn from the mistakes of others and start on the right footing. That will get you started.
Yeah, and if you want to learn how to live this crazy laptop, digital gypsy, nomad lifestyle and have all the craziest travel stories like this girl here, then you definitely want to get that checklist.
Or maybe you just want to be at home with your, maybe you just like, you love playing tennis, you want to play tennis every day, you want to stay home with your kids, like it doesn't have to be necessarily traveling, but you want to work from your laptop, you don't want to be tied to the location, you want a little bit of freedom.
That's true. Whatever you do with your own freedom is your choice. Some of us like to fill it with the gypsy lifestyle. So thank you so much, Hannah. This is super cool. I'm going to keep you for a minute here.